It's the Bennie Randall Show. It's the Bennie Randall Show. It's the Bennie Randall Show. It's the Bennie Randall Show.
Welcome to another edition of the Bennie Randall Show. I'm your host, Bennie Randall Jr., a.k.a. The Motivator. And this powerful show brings you conversations with today's stars and tomorrow's legends. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Come on.
It's the Bennie Randall Show. 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 I love that Bennie Randall. I love that Bennie Randall. I love that Bennie Randall Show. Yeah. I love that Bennie Randall. I love that Bennie Randall. I love that Bennie Randall Show. Yeah.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Bennie Randall Show. I'm your host, Bennie Randall Jr., a.k.a. The Motivator, a.k.a. Global Entrepreneur and Business Advisor. Today's show is like no other, is sponsored in part by Vanoy Magazine. That's Vanoy Magazine. Go and get your copies of the Entrepreneur's Business Reference Guide is how I like to call it, with great nuggets coming from all entrepreneurs throughout the world, all successful and beginning entrepreneurs. And we thank them because without their valid support, we wouldn't be able to do shows like this. And we want to thank PashaniRadio.com for sponsoring the Bennie Randall Show. I tell you, without people like this, hey, we wouldn't be able to do what we do and bring you great and powerful content. On today's show, as you see below, it's another wonderful entrepreneur. Her name is Beverly Howard, is a public speaking and presentation skills expert who works with professionals to develop and deliver powerful presentations that get real results. Through her lively, engaging workshops, seminars, and customized speeches, she shows executives, business owners, and individuals how to shine on the stage so they can exude confidence, charisma, and character and deliver talks that leave their audience inspired and motivated to take action. She is an international best-selling author in the collaborative book, Put Me In, Coach. Top strategies from the game of life and business. She is a certified world-class speaking coach through marketing guru Mitch Myerson and Toastmasters 1999 world champion of public speaking Craig Valentine, as well as a certified professional speaker through the Global Women's Prosperity Network. For 25 years, she has been with Toastmasters International as a leader and a mentor. In 2022, she helped a fellow Toastmasters win Toastmasters International World Championship of Public Speaking semifinals. Beverly holds the title of Distinguished Toastmasters, the highest level of attainable when it comes to Toastmasters. Man, let me tell you, let me have no more delay. Let me bring her to the stage, Miss Beverly Howard.
Hey, Bennie.
Thank you so much for the Bennie Randall Show. We love people here. All love it. Y'all gotta stop clapping. Stop it. Okay. You see, we love people that hear that talk a lot. So, that's what we're here for and whatnot. So Beverly, quite a bio there. When did you know that you wanted to become a speaker coach? Was you one of those children that just spoke a lot and just couldn't be quiet? Because I know I was.
No, I'm not like you, Bennie. I think I realized that I wanted to become a speaker coach around 2009. I became a Toastmaster in 1998. And throughout my time as a Toastmaster, I excelled at evaluating and giving feedback to speakers. And it was so bad to the point that everywhere I went, I was evaluating and giving feedback. And I remember one time when I was at an event, a leadership event for people like myself who wanted to be leaders. And I was given feedback constantly throughout the term. I was constantly giving feedback. Till one time, the instructor asked me to stand up and give feedback. And I realized that my students that were there with me, they did not want to hear any more feedback from Beverly Howard. So I politely sat myself down and I got quiet. But I wanted to make sure that when I was giving evaluations and feedback to people, that I was giving them the right information. And by doing so, I delved into learning more about public speaking, the art, and learning about the art of public speaking. And that's when I decided, hey, there is an opportunity and I can get certified to be a speaker coach. And that's what I did.
Wow, I love that. I love that. That sounds like a very humble beginning. So I like
Mhm.
that, that comes to terms when doing this. So let me ask you now, for those people that are listening and may be interested in becoming a speaker coach, what are some of the dynamics of you as you help other people achieve their speaking dreams? And you help people who are entrepreneurs, you help people who simply want to be better speakers at work, you know what I mean? And everything in between. So what are the dynamics of becoming a speaker coach?
One of the dynamics that I find of becoming a speaker coach is being flexible. And when I say being flexible, I've worked with, like you said, entrepreneurs, I've worked with Toastmasters, competing in competitions and corporations and people who, executives. So what I found is that not everyone learns the same way. So if I'm coaching you, say, for a workshop, and I have an idea of what it is that could help you. And many times, what I come up with, you don't feel comfortable doing. So I will immediately go to my toolbox in my head and decide, okay, let me understand the person that I'm dealing with, and let's find another approach. So I think that the most important part for me as a speaker coach is being flexible and being able to pivot whenever something that may work for one person that may not work for someone else. That is what I found across the board is the most important thing. Another thing, uh, yes,
No,
another
no, go
thing
ahead.
another thing that's coming to mind for me is that I find, especially working with Toastmasters and competitions, the problem that I find is figuring out what the actual message is. And we can spend hours just on that topic alone. And it becomes frustrating for the individuals because they just want to get on with the speech. And I said,
Mhm.
but if there's no message, I can't help you with the speech. And that's another thing is just having the ability to be patient and invite the people that I'm coaching to be patient and to trust the process because there is a process to coaching and also getting you to the goal that you want to get to.
That's very powerful. You said trust the process. It's amazing how many people don't even get started with the process because they don't trust the process and they don't trust themselves. And, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that one of the most fearful things is outside of doing something else is public speaking is one of those most fearful things that people dread to do. Why do you think that is so? And how can people get over this fear? Because and I know fear is false evidence appearing real. How do people, get out of that aspect of just getting started? Because first and foremost, you got to get on stage to even begin to speak. Let's talk about
That's
that.
right. That's right. So, first of all, public speaking, you do it all day, every day. We all public speak. As soon as we walk outside our door, we're speaking in public. As soon
Hmm.
you and I right now, we're speaking in public. So the fear of of public speaking is, like you said, the fear, false evidence appearing real. Now, what we're really fearful of is, what are people going to think about us? Am I going to forget what it is that I want to say? Am I going to freeze up? Are they going to see the fear that's going through my body? That's what we're really afraid of. And I think if everyone just keep that in mind and know that I don't know anyone who has died speaking in public, right? So I know an attorney that I worked with at my previous job. She said that she would just pass out when it came time to speak. She would just faint. Okay,
Wow.
she fainted, but she didn't die, right? So I can understand her avoiding speaking all the time,
She
but
fainted, but she didn't die.
she didn't
I hear
die. She lived to tell the story. Now, the thing that you want to do to overcome that, and I found it works best for me, is to be prepared. I know that I'm most fearful of speaking in public when I'm not prepared. When
Mhm.
I just get up and think that I'm going to be able to give a presentation to my boss and to my colleagues about something that I didn't even prepare for, or to think that I'm going to get up in front of a group and give a keynote speech and I haven't rehearsed, I haven't done anything that I needed to do. Yes, I'm going to be fearful, and you should be too. So the main thing is to overcome that is to be prepared. The other thing that you want to do is, folks, take the focus off yourself and put it on your audience, because it's not about you, it's about them. And once you take that focus off of yourself, because I know there's some people that'll be standing up and they're thinking, "Oh my God, are they looking at me? Am I going to forget? Can I? Am I sweating too much? I can't raise my arm. I have sweat underneath on my arms. All kind of stuff just goes through your head instead of your message and your audience. And that's what's most important. So those two things: be prepared and just know that it's not about you; it's about your audience.
Now, unlike me, there's a lot of other people that actually write out their entire speech, right? They write out
Mhm.
everything that they have to write out, and then they have to go word for word. How productive is that? Because what I've seen a lot of times, when people write out their entire speech and they miss a word, they are stuck. And then they're trying to find their way back. How do I get back over here? And if you're going word for word,
Mhm.
what is your take on having a speech written totally out and going for word, almost like you're using a teleprompter? Does that work, or does that not work?
Oh, it doesn't work. Now, in full disclosure about myself, I wear glasses, as you can see. And starting out as a Toastmaster, like I said, in 1998, I would have written something on my paper, but I was blind. I would have that paper in front of my hand and I could not read what was on it. So I cannot rely on that written documentation. And what I advise for the people that I coach is to not rely on it. Now, there are times when you will have to be on script. Say, for instance, if you're giving a press conference, or when I worked with the federal government, there were times that we needed to say everything word for word. You would have it on paper, you would give it to the reporters, that kind of thing. Yes, have it written. But when it comes to actually preparing to speak, I recommend starting out, and again, we're going back to this: trust the process. Write it out to start. Then you will move from the whole written part in your practice to bullet points or key words, to get that internalized into your body and to your mind, so that whenever it's time for you to present, you're not relying on the paper, and especially not a whole scripted paper. And one thing that I did to get me through college, I used to I used to write out everything that I needed to know on little pieces of paper and just write it out, tiny, 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 tiny. And it was almost like,
And you said little pieces of paper.
no, on like I would take my paper. I don't have no paper here. I would take my paper and I would just write on this side. I would write on that side, and everything when I'm prepared for a test. And it's almost like writing cheat sheets. But by the time I write everything out, because there's something about writing and using your brain and writing. So I would write it out, and then whenever I went to read it over and rehearse and practice, I didn't need it. I no longer needed that what would be considered a cheat sheet because I wasn't using it for that purpose. I was using it for the writing and being able to internalize that information so that whenever it's time for me to take that exam, I did very well. I mean, I'm proud of myself. There's a system that worked for me. And I think it's pretty much similar to what you want to do as a speaker. As a speaker, you definitely want to write it out. Benny, I know you don't want to write it out. And I just say, just write it out just so that you can get your thoughts together. And I see your face. So I just recently had a client which we had this issue. And what they were telling me is that no, I don't write my stuff out and I'm not going to do it. And this person wants to be in the speech contest for Toastmasters International, the World Championships. And I let him know that once you get to that semifinals and finals, you're going to have to present a written speech. So whether you write it out yourself or whether you dictate it and record it and have it transcribed, you're going to need to have a written form, but you don't have to rely on it. I don't want you, like
that
you
wouldn't
said.
work for me. It wouldn't work for me
Right.
because I couldn't. My every speech I do is always totally different. So, and
Right.
and I've been doing this for over 20 some years. So, but I understand the premise of what you're saying, though.
Right.
It just, I guess, with me, it's just a little different. But I totally understand your premise.
And it's all about being prepared to practice, 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 practice. Most people have to practice their speech 50 to 100 times. And if you don't want to put in that work, then you're going to have a problem. Now, the way that I like to advise people to practice is to practice out of order. So with a speech, the structure is opening, body, and conclusion. So you might want to start out once you've gotten it written and you have it practicing to internalize that speech into your mind, so that when you get in front of the people that you're speaking to, that it's just like brushing your teeth. You don't even have to think about it because you know what you're talking about. So I suggest that you start with a part of your body, just one point, and you go over that. Then skip to the opening of your speech. Get that down. Go on down to your conclusion. So just practice your speech out of order and practice as if you're delivering it. It could be in front of in your office. I know someone, they say that they practice on their treadmill. They will go through, while they're on the treadmill. And one of my recent clients, she said that she was everywhere she went. She was in Target. She's out loud doing her speech. She's in her car and people looking at her from her car like, what is going on with this woman? So wherever you are, just practice. And that's going to get you that 50 to 100 practices. But if you don't put in the work, it's going to be a problem. You're not going to be successful. And I will admit that I'm lazy when it comes to putting in the work. I won't.
You're not lazy, Beverly. You're just
what is the word?
Process. You're thoughtful in your process.
Okay.
Which
Yes.
happens to be a little slower.
Yes,
So
sir. You're correct.
Thoughtful in your process.
Thoughtful in my process. And when I'm working with people, I almost kind of force them to do it. Like Bennie does. Yeah.
In the interest of transparency, I am Beverly's business coach and I push her very, very hard. So that is what she's referring to, but she needs it. All right.
I
Ladies
do.
and
I do.
gentlemen, you absolutely need it, but you're amazing what you do. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to The Benny Randall Show. I'm your host, Benny Randall Jr., a.k.a. The Motivator, a.k.a. Global Entrepreneur and Business Advisor. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to The Benny Randall Show. I'm your host, Benny Randall Jr., a.k.a. Global Entrepreneur and Business Advisor. And we're having an extraordinary show with the world-class speaking coach. Her name is Beverly Howard, and she's taking us through some tips and things that we can learn that we can become professional speakers and speaker coaches in our lifetime. So, Beverly, let me ask you, what are some of the mistakes that you notice with beginning speakers, whether they want to become a speaker coach or whether they just want to speak at their work? What are some of the telltale signs of mistakes that people make in their process? If I was to ask you, what's 2 or 3 telltale signs and that they need to correct that a lot of people run across when they begin this journey of speaking, what would you say that is?
Let me think. In becoming a public speaker, I think the biggest mistake that they make is not getting a coach. I think that should probably be last, but it's the first thing that comes to my mind, because without a coach, we make multiple mistakes. And I know from my own experience that I didn't know what I didn't know.
Mm.
And until I got a coach and until I started learning about the art of public speaking, that's when it all came. The other mistake I did mention already was the fact that we speak and we don't know what our message is. We
Mm.
don't have an idea about what direction we want to take the speech, what is the outcome that we want our audience to have, because as most people know, is people are only concerned with what's in it for me, FIIFM, what's in it for me. And when you are that speaker and you have multiple messages and you go off on a tangent, people just cannot follow you. So that is another mistake. And another mistake that I see people make is not knowing how to engage their audience. I find that a lot of speakers, they are just interested in just getting through the process, because sometimes we as speakers, because we're so nervous, especially beginning speakers, we're so nervous, we have 20 minutes to speak, but because we're so nervous, we do it in 10 minutes and then we get afraid, like, oh my God, I have 10 more minutes, what else am I going to say? And the reason why that happened is because the speakers rushed through their speech. They didn't pause when they needed to. They didn't just take that breath and just enjoy the process. One thing that I like to do when speaking to people is looking at my audience and just seeing how they are receiving my message. How are they receiving me? I know there are times when you might look into the audience as a speaker and you'll see someone might be looking at their phone. You might see that someone is on their computer. They're just disengaged with the whole process. And one thing that I do when I see that happen, I will invite that person, ask them a question. to just get them to come back. And I know some speakers might think, oh, well, you don't want to do that because it can intimidate the audience member. But in my experience, it has never been an issue. And if they don't want to participate, they will make it very obvious and they will say it. But most people in your audience, they want to speak, they want to be heard. So I think the best thing to do is to pay attention to them, see where they are, and find a way to bring them back. Just pivot, because you can get these audience members back if you are paying attention and not so much on just getting through your speech and getting off the stage and going on with the rest of your day. So those are the three things that come to mind.
You know, that's ironic that you said engagement, and I find out that engagement is one of the most important things that has to be done when it comes to taking that audience, because for as long as you're on that stage, that is your movie. I like to say that is your movie. That is what everybody's seeing. That is how everybody's, you got their all attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's to keep them engaged so that they don't go through some of the things that you just spoke of, what makes a whole lot of sense. And I think people forget that, a great speaker is a speaker who can edutain.
Yes.
You can educate and entertain,
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you that. Speaking that, my transition to my next question is very simple. How important is humor when it comes to speaking? Because I know when I started off, people used to say I seemed like I was mad because, I have a very deep voice, you know what I mean? And, they'd be like, you're a great speaker, but you felt like my dad was talking to me and I just need to shut up and take notes. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to leave that to, I didn't want to leave that to people. I didn't want them to feel like, hey, that this guy is doing what he's got to do, et cetera, et cetera. How do we not make this happen? I wanted them to be part of the process, in that. So let's talk about the humor that's needed in presentation. Now, all presentations don't necessarily need humor, but I can tell you, whatever, most presentations, a little humor can go a long way. Can you speak to that, please?
Yes, humor is so important in speeches. And again, like you said, not every speech has to have humor. But if you take the time to uncover humor, that's one thing as a coach I teach my clients is you don't add humor to your speech, you uncover the humor. And the thing that a lot of people like to do, and especially executives and people who are just not.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
got to write that down. Can you repeat that again? You don't do what with the humor?
you don't add humor to your speech. You uncover humor in your speech.
Girl, you better go ahead and preach
Right.
that. You go ahead and
Yes.
preach that thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you heard what she was just dropping down. You have to uncover
To humor.
the humor in the speech. Go ahead, girl.
And so what happens is with executives, they think, oh, I have to be funny. So the first thing they do, they tell a off-the-shelf joke, a joke that most people have already heard before, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to flop. Now, if they were experienced, they would know that you don't want to start your speech with a joke in order to get a laugh, because again, most times it doesn't even have anything to do with your topic, and it's just a no. You don't want to do that. One way that I find to bring humor and uncover humor in your speech is when you're telling stories. You can get humor at the beginning of your speech if you open with a story. And most of the time, the humor comes from the character, not you. Let's say, for instance, you are it's 2 characters, you and someone else is the one who says the funny line. It's not going to be you, so it takes you off the hook of being the funny person, but you'll get that laugh because you uncovered the humor from that other individual. So humor is something that you just have it. One thing that I found successful with one of my coaching clients was just having a name, naming your character a funny name. Just give them a funny name and people are going to laugh. Because I can say, Benny this, or I could say big belly Benny, so it could
That wouldn't be
be.
me, so that wouldn't be
No,
correct.
that's
So
not. No, it
I'm
wouldn't
just,
be. But
I'm
you
just
got
teasing.
you
I'm
got
teasing.
the B, and the B.
I
So
got you.
just
I
yeah.
know. I'm just
So you
teasing.
can just find ways to uncover the humor. It doesn't have to be so hard as people think, because that's one question that a lot of speakers ask. Well, how do I put humor into my speech? How do I put humor? And I said, let's uncover it. Let's look for it. Let's find it.
So let's get down to last week, man. Time goes so fast when you're having fun, man. I'm telling
Mhm.
you, this has been amazing. We can talk all day about this, man, because I just love to talk anyway. So, you know,
Mhm.
but let's talk about now turning this into a business,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of people that get paid a lot of money for speaking, good, bad, and different. It all about how valuable they think the message is, right? How do you pivot from going from free to going to fee? I mean, I've done many seminars on this. I had a 3-day seminar, how to go from free to fee, because I thought it was important that people understand that this is a talent. This is a gift. You being able to teach people, how to get up on that stage, engage and edutain and inspire the world with their words, because it's so important. And remember, people are speaking every day. When you turn on the television, of course, on social media, you know what I mean? When you're in the streets, when you walk into your job, when you're trying to hit trying to get the attention of that beautiful woman, and you got your speaking on, you know what I mean? But how does one begin to take it from free to fee?
I have to laugh because I am in that stage right now, from taking it from free to fee. That's why I hired you, Benny. However, it's just for me, the first step is beginning to ask for the money, to really let people know that this is what you do. Is it's like a hobby, because it's something for me personally I do enjoy, and
Mm.
I get pleasure out of helping people to achieve their speaking goals. However, the challenge for me has always been taking it from the conversation of, okay, I can help you, and this is the investment
The
for us
value,
working together,
the
right?
value. Absolutely.
So the biggest challenge for me, and the first step, is being able to ask for the money. The other part is the whole business aspect of it, is the marketing and getting yourself out there to let people know that this is what you do, which
Right.
is, if you're not doing that, how do they know? You can get
Absolutely.
word of mouth
hmm
clients, which is, it's good, but it's not going to build a business to where you need
So,
it to
so,
go.
so let me ask you this then, knowing the different caliber of speakers that are out there, right?
Mhm.
Let me ask you something. What's the most enjoyable part for you in being a speaker coach? Is it the part of helping people get on that stage and win? Like, where do you get your joy from? Because,
Mhm.
we all have our why, right? We all
Mhm.
have our why we do something, why we do this, why we do that. You know what I mean? What is your why when you become and you are that speaking coach? What is your why? Is it the enjoyment of seeing people win? Is it the enjoyment of expressing yourself and then helping align other people to express yourself themselves? What is your big why?
My big why is just what you said, is helping the people that I coach win. It's almost like, you have a baby, and whenever you work with them and you see all of the work that went into all that you've done together, and when they get on the stage and they shine and they're engaging, they're doing all of the things that you coach them to do, and they're getting all kind of accolades of, oh, that was great, we want you to come back to speak, we want it's just the joy that they get that brings me joy. And that is the most important part, because when you're coaching someone, a lot goes into it between you and the person that you're coaching. And it's so gratifying to me just to see that everything that we did together, it came together and they won. So that is what brings me the most joy.
I love that. I love that. And one last question before your final words, and
Mhm.
that's very simple. The people that are shy, they know they got to get up there and speak, but they are so shy. Like, like they get on stage, they're moving their hands, they're doing all these other things except speaking. You know what I mean?
Mm.
How do you help people that are shy? And a lot of people are introverts, believe it or not. You know what I mean? How do you help those people break past that obstacle, get on stage, and live in their authentic self?
I had that experience. I was given a presentation at John Jay College in New York, and I invited the students to come to the front. This woman, she came to the front and she was shaking and she was said, "Oh, I'm so afraid. I just can't do this," right? And I just put my hand on her shoulder and I spoke to her. I said, "Don't worry about it. You got this," right? So she went ahead and she presented. And afterwards, she felt better, but then she wanted to do it again. So we said, "Okay." And then she said, "Can you give me a hug?" So I gave her a hug to comfort her, and she did it again. Whenever I got the feedback, her feedback was, "Up until this day, I was afraid to speak. Now I want to be a public speaker," because it was just having someone there to comfort them, to soothe her, to let her know that you're going to be okay and you can do this. And just getting that feedback that she now is no longer afraid. She wants to talk forever. And yeah, so that's one of the things that I think if more people will seek out that help, because we are, as human beings, I'm an introvert. Believe it or not, I don't know why people think I'm an extrovert. I am the introvert. However, all right, I am, Benny, stop it. I am an introvert. So I, as an
You are
introvert,
introvert? Okay.
yes, 100%. As an
Woo!
introvert, I have to turn it off and on. I have to be an extrovert to be here speaking to you right now. As soon as these cameras go off, I want to go back to my introverted self. However, and I'm going to do just that. But whenever you're an introvert, you need to be able to surround yourself and ask people to help you, because we always want to do things on our own, and we are our own worst enemy critic when
Hmm.
it comes to all things that we're uncomfortable with. So I would invite any introvert or anyone just who is afraid to just get up and speak, to just ask for help. Let someone help you.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes you got
and
to
if
push those introverts, just like I pushed you on this show because you ain't want to be on.
yes.
You did
Mm-mm.
not want to be on here, but you here,
And
and look how amazing you
uh-huh.
did.
Some people,
Yeah,
they just need a hug. It's okay to give people hugs today, or some
that's
fist pumps.
Yeah, definitely hear that, man. I mean, I appreciate it. So, your final words, Beverly. When is it? We can talk forever and ever. We already over time, but we can talk forever and ever about it. And I love a lot of the nuggets that you shared. But your final words to those who might be interested in becoming a speaker coach, or just the art of speaking in its own right. What would you say to them?
I would say if you're interested in becoming a public speaker, just understand that you're already a public speaker, first of all. And if you need help, seek that help. Get yourself a coach. Join Toastmasters. Like I mentioned, I joined in 1998. I'm still an active member. Get into an organization and be surrounded by people who will help you. If you want to be a certified coach, there are different avenues that you could take. As you heard in my bio, I went through a certification process. I know that there are people who are coaches who are not certified, and I am not against that either. If you find that you have the skills and you can help someone to get results that they're looking for to make them shine on stages and do what it is that they want to do that. So just do what you need to do. But first of all, just ask for help. Because I think our biggest problem in life is we do not ask for help. And
Mhm.
those are my words of
So
encouragement.
so if people want to learn more about you, where can they reach out to you at?
The best place to reach me is on LinkedIn right now. I am getting my website together, but it's not ready yet. And you can get me at email beverly.a.howard@gmail.com.
All right.
Beverly.a.howard@gmail.com.
All right. I appreciate you, Beverly, for being on the Benny Randall Show, where we believe it is your business to know. And I hope that you understand. We try to bring you an array of different people from business to entrepreneurship to speaking, because we want you to have an opportunity to hear the perspectives from those who are doing it, done it, and continuing to do it. Because the more exposure you get, the better you become. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. I'm Benny Randall Jr., aka The Motivator. You can learn more about me at bennyrandall.com, or you can go and see the full episodes of this on YouTube at Vanoy Media. That's Vanoy Media. And you can see the full episodes, or you can listen to it on our podcast, The Benny Randall Show, on BashaniRadio.com every week. And one thing I always want to encourage you to do: live in your authentic self. Live in who you are. And we want to thank our sponsors for allowing and making this possible. Vanoy Magazine. Please go to vanoymag.com and get your printed copy of Vanoy Magazine, because it's people like that that keep us on the air. And I appreciate you with any and everything you do. And make sure you join us next week, next time, bringing you another powerful episode of the Benny Randall Show. I love you, and you can't do a damn thing about it.